not only is this the day that God gave us Jan Schakowsky.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's her birthday. It's her birthday. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So she could give birth to fabulous new legislation, which she's going to tell us about this morning. Good morning, Rockin' Representative Jan Schakowsky.
Good morning, Stephanie. Hey, Steph, hope your mom is okay. I heard that she's in the hospital, huh?
Thank you, Representative. Yeah, it's this era we're all living in. She's 97. She has Alzheimer's. She lives alone. So, but she just has something else. But she had to go to the hospital, and so now I'm worried she's going to get it in the hospital, as we all are. She's they're hydrating her. She's just having some gastro stuff and chills and whatever. But this is what we all have to be terrified of, right? Not only can my brother not go with her into the hospital, and she's scared. I can't fly there. She's in Charlotte, and it's this again, Representative. This has gotten personal for all of us because this is, in my opinion,
so.
Yeah, a completely preventable health crisis that has been mismanaged every single step of the way.
And continues to be. We saw people at the beach yesterday acting as if it was last year. Umbrellas set out, 20 people sitting together. My husband and I are the only ones wearing a mask. As we check it out, we walked away.
Right.
Because it's scary.
Well, yeah, but this is the modeling that's coming from the top, right? It's don't wear masks, don't reopen, hurry and reopen, open churches, let's get the economy going. And it really, I find it criminal and morally reprehensible.
Honestly, I believe that this president has blood on his hands because people have died as a consequence of it's not just bad modeling. I mean, he is pushing. Open up, pretend it hasn't happened. It's just amazing and unforgivable.
Yeah. And now I guess that, they've just released this national testing strategy that basically just puts it on the states, right? That's the same thing. This was delivered yesterday. It doubles down on the administration's stance that individual states, not the federal government, should bear responsibility for carrying out diagnostic tests. It's called the COVID-19 Strategic Testing Plan, and the strategy is there is no strategy. You do it.
You do it, and
right.
our governors, every governor except one is polling higher than the president of the United States.
Yeah.
But leaving them on their own, and our governor Pritzker is doing a great job, although the president attacks him all the time. It's not enough to not have national coordination because people go into situations, into nursing homes, these workers, as well as the residents, but these workers that don't have the proper equipment because the federal government does not coordinate that. It's unforgivable, Stephanie.
Well, so in this plan, Representatives said upon its release, the blueprint was immediately derided as inadequate by leading public health officials and experts. The president issued it hours after a bipartisan group, all with healthcare expertise, sent a letter urging them to devote significantly more money to expand testing as well as do more public health tracing. We are not doing the things that we're supposed to do, Representative, that they've done around the world. I mean, we can see the curves and what they did, and it involves masks and social distancing and testing and tracing. And I feel like we're walking into an ongoing disaster. You and I both know the scenes we saw this weekend. In 2 weeks, we're going to have horrible news in all those communities, aren't we?
I fear that very much. I can't see how we can avoid it. And the president insists, look, we knew from day one, right, that this was going to be a disaster of an administration. But now it's a deadly administration because of the president. And it's just horrifying. It used to be embarrassing. Now it is horrifying and deadly.
Yeah. So you want to break some news with us, which we always appreciate.
Yeah.
So you're introducing a bill this morning called the COVID Justice and Accountability Act. Tell us what that is and what it does.
So the Republicans in the Senate, their main goal right now is to create liability protection, to say that corporations are not responsible if something happens in a factory, if something happens on the job. Hello? We want to establish that individuals will have the private right of action. What does that mean? They can sue. If someone is sent to work in unsafe conditions no PPE, that's the personal protective equipment, and they get sick, they have the right to sue their employer for an unsafe working conditions. And that is the big push of the Republicans, is to make sure that there is no accountability. They fear with this push reopening, things are going to happen. And that people should,
I was just going to say, you know how they know it's not safe? Because they want protection from liability. That's how they, I mean, it's so absurd how they're saying, oh, they didn't get it at the meatpacking plant. They have bad social structure or whatever. They're getting it somewhere else, which is so, really? They're not getting it in the poorly ventilated place where they're packed in like sardines and other people have it? Really? I mean, it just, they think we're all stupid. And it's, you also picked up on Twitter, Representative, this, I keep saying it's a personal thing for me because we have lost one friend we know, another Jim Ward, who, you know, one of my co-hosts had coronavirus, nearly died several times, is recovering now. So this is personal for all of us. And I'm so sick of this sort of victim blaming. And I think you were talking about, who was it? Was it Azar talking about comorbidities of African Americans or something? And, you know, you said instead of creating a plan to alleviate inequitable social determinants of health or taking responsibility for the Trump administration's inadequate coronavirus response, Secretary Azar is blaming people of color he's sworn to serve. Unacceptable. And I do feel like there is this victim blaming thing. And it is, Representative, it's 30-year-old triathletes. It's 40-year-old mothers without underlying conditions. It is, and even if you have underlying conditions, it doesn't mean you deserve this or this response has not been criminal.
Absolutely, and there was a protest I was hearing this morning, that they had a protest yesterday in Boston for people who now feel they may be forced to go back to work. In other words, they'll not be getting unemployment insurance, even though it's a dangerous situation. They're going to be forced to go back to work. Who are those people? Think about it. The people who work in nursing homes are mainly women, and they're women of color and immigrants. Mm-hmm. It is the same people who have been struggling all this time because they're living in poverty and with lousy and dangerous jobs. And now they're being told they have to go back to work. It's people of color. It is low-income people that are really, really suffering. And to say, oh, it's somehow their fault is just, again, it's just
No, it's no. Representative, it's everything you've been fighting against your whole career, which is why we love you so much. But it's just, whether it's millionaires on Fox News doing their show at home from their mansions, encouraging black and brown people to go back into factories and get back to work, that is despicable. It's despicable.
Exactly.
And saying, oh no, we need to cut off your unemployment benefits, so you have no choice. You know,
they're trying to get rid of the postal service. We should all say thank you to the postal, to the carrier who comes 6 days a week, and delivers checks and delivers medication. And the people in the grocery store, yes, they are risking their lives to be in the public like that. Finally, they got those plastic,
face shields, right? Yeah.
The plexiglass shields.
Yes, I'm sorry, at grocery stores as well. Yeah. Representative, I was going to say, the other thing, when obviously the president, look at it, I are saying, but one of them I read about people being less likely to take a vaccine if Trump recommends it, which I'm feeling the same way. Someone said rushing a vaccine to market before the election, what could possibly go wrong? I mean, there's reports that even Dr. Fauci is uncomfortable with this Operation Warp Speed. And you tweeted about Moderna's stock increase more than 25% today. It seems to me Mr. Slaoui agreed to divest only after cashing in. Americans should be able to trust their taxpayer dollars are going to the production of an affordable vaccine, not enriching Trump administration officials. But unfortunately, in every story, that's where you follow the money with Trump, don't you?
Exactly. And if you look at the companies that first got the help from, we call it the Paycheck Protection Program, it was those companies that had lots of money in their banks. The banks would call them, provided concierge service to them to sign up for the program, and a tiny percent of mom and pops and neighborhood stores actually got to get the money. the people who really deserved it and needed it. We saw some really rich companies do that. So this is the pattern.
I don't want to make this about me, but let's make this about me. Hi, Stephanie Miller Show, small business, couldn't get a business loan. The LA Lakers did. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
You know, it's
did
like
you never get it?
No. I mean, that's the problem. Is it? You know, Representative, as you know, they gave out, what was it? It's like, I don't know how many of us small businesses are. I forget the number, but maybe they gave out maybe 2 or 3% of, you know, and as you say, largely big companies got it that were able to, you know, whatever.
In the first round, in the second round, smaller businesses did get it, and there's still money. You might want to still try.
Yeah. Well, if only I knew someone powerful. Okay. Stop it. Just kidding. And I can't say that now. Yeah. And also, by the way, thank you for just the stuff that they're trying to ram through in the midst of this pandemic, like attacking Planned Parenthood. You said right-wing politicians are engaging in a clear political attack on Planned Parenthood health centers, trying to limit access to health care for my constituents and all Americans. This has absolutely nothing to do with eligibility for COVID-19 economic relief. As you've said over and over in your career, and we've often said, a tiny percentage of what they do is abortion, which is legal, but they also provide a lot of health care to people that can't get it elsewhere, which is kind of important right now.
Women,
yeah.
To men and women, they are often the only primary health clinic in a community. We always hear about people having to travel miles and miles. Planned Parenthood is all over the country providing the care that is needed right now. And to decide this is the moment to go after Planned Parenthood because they do legal abortions. Sometimes, some places, not, you know, that's not their main business.
Right.
It's unbelievable. They can't help themselves. They are on a jihad against women and against abortion.
Representative, before we go, I would say the main thing my listeners are concerned about is that we are going to have a fair election. And I have got to say the sheer panic from Donald Trump over vote by mail, which many states have been doing safely. There is a practically zero incidence of fraud in vote by mail. But us having a free and fair and safe election seems to have panicked him beyond anything else, which it is a state by state thing, right? He can't stop vote by mail, can he? I mean, can you give us some insight into that?
He has threatened the state of Michigan, for example, that if they vote for vote by mail, then he will take funds away from them. This is how desperate this president is. So there are ways for retribution by this president, and he spends all his time figuring out what those are. And so he's threatening right now the governor of California on their vote by mail. Meantime, he voted by mail.
Yes.
He voted by mail. Wyoming, which is not exactly a blue state, has voted by mail all for years and years, decades, I believe. And the research shows that actually Republicans like it as much as Democrats like it. This man, you know, has this conspiracy theory, and he's going to go after anybody who wants vote by mail, except for him. It's all about him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have to say the polls largely show Americans want vote by mail. They want to be able to vote safely, and they don't feel safe yet going out. And I have to say, Representative, based on what you and I just saw this weekend, we don't have to worry about a second wave. We have to worry about a really frigging awful first wave that's going to continue. You know, I don't even know if you call it a second wave when this is based on behavior that the president's encouraging that is going to, as we know, lead to tragedy.
You know, I mean, the president he believes that the more people vote, the worse it is for him. That may be true, except that his people want to be able, especially if they're compromised in some way, they're sick, they're afraid to go out, or it's really hard to do. This happens to Republicans too, Mr. President, and they want to be able to participate. This is the most precious item of our democracy, voting. and he would like to limit it as much as he can. And they're going to do all kinds of voter suppression. So we have to make sure that every single person that can vote will vote any which way that they can. Hopefully, we'll be able to get a bill passed. We passed it in the House to get universal opportunity to vote by mail, as well as to go to the polls, to have more early voting and more time to vote. This is our democracy is at stake. As Nancy Pelosi said, this is about saving our lives, our livelihood, and saving our democracy.
Yeah, and they seem, you're right, particularly panicked by a vote that you can't hack, vote by mail, and a vote with a paper trail, vote by mail. So keep fighting that good fight for us as you always do. And happy birthday. I can't imagine your wild quarantine plans for your birthday. Are you going to...
You're looking at it. This is the highlight. This is it, Steph, to spend it with you.
Happy birthday, rockin' Congresswoman. We'll see you soon. We hope.
Thank you. Thank you. Love you.
Love you too, sweetheart.
Thank you.